This video contains scenes of predation which some viewers may find unsettling. In my humble opinion, there is no animal more terrifying than a big cat. According to Smithsonian's National Zoo, the largest of these creatures, the Siberian tiger, weighs up to 660 pounds, or 300 kilograms in the wild. A fully grown male lion is not far off that size, weighing up to 570 pounds in the wild, according to PBS Nature, and unlike the tiger, which is thought of as solitary, lions can be found in prides as large as 30 individuals, making the hunting dynamics of this species quite different. One of the smaller big cats, the leopard, which can still be the same size as me, can weigh up to 165 pounds according to multiple sources, and is also thought of as solitary. With such large variation in size and social structure, I wanted to find out what research has been conducted on the diets of these large felines, and ultimately, what do the world's most intimidating and mesmerizing creatures prey on in the wild? Of all the studies I found on the diets of big cats, there is one that is far more cited than any other, and is based on one of the more elusive and lesser known wildcat species, found only in the mountainous regions of Central Asia. The researchers state that a single snow leopard requires 1.5 kilograms of meat per day, and that in predation ecology, time spent both searching for and pursuing prey are key factors which influence foraging strategies, with predators choosing a foraging area and prey species that minimize the sum of these two factors. In general, they note that the most commonly taken prey by snow leopards is known to consist of wild sheep and goats, with their diet also including smaller animals such as pika, hare, and game birds. However, by comparing the results of 25 studies covering 18 different areas and 6 different countries, the researchers in this study tested specifically for regional differences in diet, comparing 3 things. Number 1, which large prey species are preferred and avoided. Number 2, whether there are separate zones where snow leopard ecology differs. And number 3, what are the implications of this information for conservation? The results of the study identified 4 geographically distinct snow leopard zones. Zone 1 included 9 study sites, 8 of which were located in Nepal and the other in India. Zone 2 also included 9 study sites, which were located between India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and China. Zone 3 included the location of 5 study sites, all of which are located in China. And finally, Zone 4 included 2 study sites, both located in Mongolia. In terms of prey consumption, the top 4 species detected in snow leopard scats overall were all closely related caprids. The Siberian ibex, a wild goat of the capra genus, the spectacular Himalayan tahr, a close relative to both goats and sheep, the blue sheep, also known as the baral, which is actually separate to the sheep of the Ovis genus, which contains the last of the 4, the argali, also known as the mountain sheep. Small prey was also identified frequently and included marmots, civets, and rodents. Medium-sized prey included the musk deer, which was preyed upon relatively frequently, and domestic livestock contributed to less than 8% across all 4 zones. Interestingly, the proportion of large, medium, and small prey in snow leopard scats were constant. However, the most popular prey species differed between the 4 zones, with the researchers stating that dietary niche overlap was not significant among the zones, and that the mean overlap across zones was 31.52%. Studies conducted in Zone 1 showed that the large prey consumed most often in this region were blue sheep, along with the Himalayan tahr. Zone 2 studies showed that argali, the Siberian ibex, and the blue sheep were most often preyed upon here, along with civets reported by just 1 study. Zone 3 studies again identified blue sheep, but with marmots also being predominantly consumed. And finally, in Zone 4, the Siberian ibex was most often consumed, followed by domestic goats and sheep. In terms of preference, not all species were preyed upon with the same amount of enthusiasm. This graph shows mean Jacob's index values for prey species of the snow leopard at 2 or more sites. Black illustrates significantly preferred prey. Open bars represent species killed in proportion to their availability, and striped bars or no bar indicate significantly avoided prey species. This includes the Asiatic wild ass and the Tibetan gazelle, which were never preyed upon, and perhaps most interestingly the argali, which is mentioned throughout the study as a frequent prey item, suggesting that despite being commonly identified in scats, they are still preyed upon less than would be expected based on availability. This graph shows prey preferences of taxonomic groups of snow leopard prey items, with open bars representing those killed in proportion to their availability, and striped bars indicating significantly avoided groups. This includes cattle and yaks, equids, and gazelles. Also to note, there is an absence of black bars on this graph, suggesting no significantly preferred taxonomic group. Analysis on the weight of the prey showed that prey species weighing more than 76 kilograms are avoided, which accounts for the Asiatic wild ass, an equid that can weigh over 250 kilograms according to Smithsonian's National Zoo, whereas prey species weighing between 36 to 76 kilograms are preferred, and prey species weighing 40 kilograms or less are killed relative to their abundance. The researchers state that the results of the study highlight the fact that prey preference of the snow leopard has not evolved on broader groups, for example sheep or goats, but is species-specific. In terms of conservation, focus cannot be placed on replenishing one specific species, with such a large degree of variation occurring across its entire range. However, it is noted that the 3 key large prey species that are the cornerstone of the conservation of the snow leopard globally are 1. the blue sheep or baral, 2. the Siberian ibex, and 3. the Himalayan tahr, all of which occur throughout the range of the snow leopard. In terms of the 5 big cats, the cold, wintry environment of the snow leopard is mostly unique, but not entirely so, with the largest of all felines and one of the rarest, found on the border of China and Russia, an area that was the subject of our next study. At the time of publishing in 2019, this study cited an estimated total population of just 600 Siberian or Amur tigers remaining in the wild, split between 2 isolated subpopulations, one in Russia and the other on the Russian-Chinese border. The literature available on the prey base and diet of the Russian population is more extensive, with the researchers reporting that although Russian tigers have a relatively broad dietary range, consuming approximately 15 different prey species, just 4 animals constitute 83 to 90% of biomass consumed. Number 1, the wild boar, one of the largest wild pigs, and 3 deer species, the red deer, sika, and roe deer. With an understanding of prey species being incredibly important to conservation, the authors used camera trap data and scat analysis along the Sino-Russian international border zone to determine 3 things. Number 1, which species constitute the dominant winter prey of Amur tigers. Number 2, which prey species are selectively preyed upon. And 3, what are the similarities and differences between tiger and prey activity and temporal use patterns. The results of the study found that wild ungulates constituted 94% of the total biomass consumed, with domestic species making up just 5% and mustelids the remaining 1%. This table lists the most dominant prey species and shows that just 2 animals make up 83% of the total biomass consumed, wild boar at 55.4% and sika deer at 27.6%, with roe deer taking 3rd place at 10% of the biomass contribution. Domestic animals were made up of cattle and dogs, and the badger was the sole representative for the mustelids. In terms of activity patterns, the study showed that tigers showed a strong nocturnal and crepuscular pattern, with 78.8% of detections between sunset and sunrise, which is similar to the activity patterns of the wild boar, whose activity peaked around dusk. In comparison to the wild boar and roe deer, sika was the species that exhibited the largest spatial overlap with tigers. However, researchers found that their activity patterns were mostly diurnal. Jacob's index was again used to show that wild boar was the species most actively preyed upon, with the researchers suggesting that the foraging behavior, with their heads down in the leaf litter, makes this species easier to approach. Although the focus of this study was the Siberian or Amur tiger, this species was not the only felid to be identified from scat analysis, with the Amur leopard also making an appearance. This overlap between tigers and leopards is not uncommon, and in fact was the focus of a study conducted in Nepal's Chitwan National Park, titled Factors Associated with the Co-occurrence of Large Carnivores in a Human-Dominated Landscape. Camera traps were used to estimate density and population size, and the researchers identified almost the same number of individuals for each species, at 78 tigers and 71 leopards. Tiger density was highest closest to the rivers in the northern regions of the park, and was highly concentrated in the floodplain areas, which the researchers refer to as prime habitat. The study states that the occurrence of tigers was positively related to the area of grassland and riverine forest, detection of cheetah, and the core areas of the park, but negatively related to livestock presence. Conversely, leopards were determined to be more likely to be present in the areas of sal forest and in the presence of livestock, as well as cheetah deer. In terms of actual diet, the highest contribution of biomass in the diets of both tigers and leopards were cheetah deer, making up 38% and 48% respectively, and similar levels of consumption between the two wildcats were also found in muntjac and hog deer. There are, however, two main differences in the diet of these two felines. Firstly, prey species on the larger side, such as wild boar and sambar deer, were preyed upon more by tigers, and gaur, which can weigh upwards of 1,000 kilograms according to many sources, were found to be preyed upon exclusively by tigers in this study. Domestic livestock, on the other hand, were preyed upon more often by leopards, especially cattle and goats. Interestingly, despite these differences, a 90% overlap in diet was demonstrated using Pianka's prey or niche overlap index. Similarity was also found in the times these big cats were most active, with both animals displaying crepuscular activity patterns when not in the presence of the other species. However, this changed slightly in the areas where both species were present, with the larger of the two wildcats taking the tiger's share of the crepuscular hours, and the leopards being more active during the day while the tigers were resting. The range of the leopard is one of the largest of all cat species, stretching from Siberia in the far northeast to the southern tip of Africa in the southwest, where we bump into our next species, the second largest of the 5 big cats, and the study with the second highest number of citations, titled Seasonal Diet and Prey Preference of the African Lion in a Waterhole-Driven Semi-Arid Savanna. The study was conducted in Zimbabwe's Hwange National Park, which the authors describe as a semi-arid African savanna structured by artificial waterholes, an ecosystem which is characterized by seasonal variations in both surface water and vegetation resources. The focus of the study was to investigate potential seasonality in the diet, prey preference and distribution of kills of African lions in this kind of environment, and whether there is a seasonal shift of prey preference suggestive of different foraging strategies in different seasons. The researchers expected kill locations to be influenced by the trend in prey aggregation at artificial waterholes, being further away from the waterholes during the wet periods when pools of water are more available throughout the landscape, and closer to the waterholes during the dry periods when surface water is a limited resource. GPS data was used to identify almost 700 potential kill sites, which the researchers state they investigated on foot, which is insane, and 245 were confirmed as lion kills. This table shows prey species classified into 8 groups, which includes small antelopes, such as impala and the common duiker, wild pigs, which includes the common warthog along with the bush pig, medium bovids, which includes both the roan and sable antelopes, as well as the wildebeest, and 5 species with their own category, including zebra, giraffe, and Cape buffalo. Interestingly, in their methodology, the researchers state that during the study period, adult male and female lions were sighted together in only 7% of sightings, which is consistent with findings from Kruger National Park, where GPS data suggests that males were only present with females at 10% of their kills. As such, male and female data were analysed separately. In addition to analysing the remains of prey species at the kill sites, the dedicated researchers also collected lion poo from the kill sites, which, and I quote, "they washed, sieved and sun-dried to remove organic matter before examining the poop under a microscope." Kill analysis revealed 14 different lion prey species, of which buffalo were the most frequently occurring for both sexes, at 56% for male lions and 33% for females. After buffalo, the most popular prey species for each sex then differs. For males, medium bovids such as wildebeest and sable antelope made up 11%, followed by elephant at 9%, and zebra at 8%, together with Cape buffalo accounting for 84% of the prey detected for males. Second place for females, on the other hand, was kudu at 16%, followed by medium bovids at 13%, giraffe at 12%, zebra at 9%, and elephant at 8%. Together with Cape buffalo, these account for 91% of the prey detected for females. Biomass consumption was then estimated, and 3 species were identified as making up almost 80 to 90% of biomass consumed for females and males respectively. These species were buffalo, contributing 58% for males and 39% for females, elephant, contributing 23% for males and 20% for females, and giraffe, contributing 7% for males and 18% for females. In terms of seasonality, the study found no seasonal difference in diet composition for male lions, whereas the diet composition of female lions in the early dry season was significantly different from the other seasons, which the authors attribute to the lower contribution of buffalo to female diet in the early dry season, which is compensated by an increase in other species consumption. Fecal analysis revealed more prey species than the kill site analysis, showing 2 things. Number 1, that lion diet in this area is made up of at least 20 species, and 2, that for a comprehensive analysis, it is well worth washing, sieving, sun-drying and analysing lion poo. Species that were unexpectedly identified in the fecal analysis were small species such as climbing mice and common mice. In terms of frequency of occurrence, kudu was the species that exhibited the highest frequency at 24%, followed by buffalo at 18%, and medium bovids also at 18%. Once biomass consumption was calculated from the results of the fecal analysis, the top contributor to lion diet was the same as the kill analysis, being buffalo, contributing 33%, but giraffe came in second at 20%, medium bovids in third with 18%, and kudu fourth at 14%, collectively accounting for 85% of the prey biomass consumed. It is worth noting that in the methodology, the researchers state that no fecal samples were collected during the wet season due to the rapid deterioration during the rains and removal by insects. Essentially, nature itself washed, sieved, and sun-dried the poo before the researchers could do it themselves. Jacob's index was again used in this study to determine prey preference relative to abundance, and showed that buffalo were preferred in all seasons by both sexes, and that female lions also showed a preference for kudu, medium bovids, and wild pigs in all seasons. Both male and female lions also showed an avoidance of small antelope in all seasons, and in terms of the mega herbivores, the elephant and the giraffe, males showed an avoidance in all seasons, whereas the interest from females differed from season to season. Finally, with regards to the role of waterholes, a distance of between 1 and 4 kilometers from a waterhole was determined to be the average distance to water where lions typically make their kill. Elephants and giraffes were the species killed most often the closest to a waterhole, and kudu and small antelopes were killed the furthest away. In conclusion, buffalo were identified as the primary prey species for lions in Hwange, and the results of the study showed that lions are opportunistic hunters with prey ranging in size from mice to elephant, killing most often in a preferentially selected zone around artificial waterholes, suggesting that the waterholes form passive traps for ungulate prey. Hwange National Park sits close to the northeastern border with Botswana, and we must travel across the country to reach the site of a particularly famous study on leopards that I would put in the category of an oldie but a goodie. This study was conducted way back in 1984, but has gone on to become the most highly cited study I could find on leopard diet, and is named Aspects of the Ecology and Behaviour of the Leopard in the Kalahari Desert. The Kalahari ecoregion is found in southern Africa between Botswana, Namibia and South Africa. This study took place in what was then South Africa's Kalahari Gemsbok National Park, which sat on the intersection of the three countries, and according to Encyclopaedia Britannica has since been merged with Botswana's Gemsbok National Park to produce Kalahari Transfrontier Park, which is my best attempt at pronouncing it in Afrikaans brew. The sandy environment here makes the tracking of animals easier and was the primary method used by researchers in this study, who tracked leopards for a total of over 1,000 kilometers over 77 days and observed their behavior. Tracking and observations were done in two areas, the park's interior and Nossob riverbed. The results section is nothing short of fascinating and is split into 7 sections: prey selection, prey use, contact rates, kill rates, stalks, chases, and kills. The results of the study relating to diet go a little something like this. Between males and females with cubs, leopards in the interior made contact with 19 prey types and killed 12 of them, with the porcupine representing the species with the greatest frequency of contact, followed by the steenbok, the aardvark, and gemsbok calves. The porcupine, steenbok, and aardvark were all classified as medium-sized prey, a group that represented the largest portion of contacts for both male and female leopards at 64% and 50% respectively, followed by large prey at 24% and 30%, and then small prey at 4% and 11%. All prey weighed under 70 kilograms, with the exception of one adult red hartebeest of approximately 180 kilograms, which was used until 2 spotted hyenas disturbed the leopard. Being smaller than lions, leopards are well known for stashing their prey in trees, and in this study, between the interior and the riverbed, leopards did so 18% of the time, storing 7 out of 38 kills in trees. The prey use section of the results also covers how long the leopards fed on the prey once it was killed. The researchers state that in the interior, only 2 of 30 kills were large enough to detain the leopard involved at the carcass for more than 1 day. Both of these kills were made by male leopards and consisted of an aardvark and a gemsbok calf. In both locations, female leopards with cubs never killed prey large enough to detain them for more than 1 day. In terms of consumption, male leopards were estimated to have consumed 3.5 kilograms of meat per day in the interior, which if we look back is over double that of the snow leopard, and females with cubs 4.9 kilograms per day. The rate of contact between leopard and prey was almost the exact same for males and females with cubs, exhibiting a contact rate of 2.8 and 2.9 per day respectively. This table shows the number of stalks and chases engaged in by leopards on the night of the kill and the succeeding days. The researchers state that leopards show relatively less interest in stalking on the first day after a kill, whereas chases occurred at similar rates regardless of timing relative to the last known kill. The mean distance between kills was larger for males at 28.1 kilometers compared to 20.8 kilometers for females with cubs. In terms of frequency, male leopards in the interior killed every 3 days, with the longest known interval between kills being 5 days, whereas females with cubs killed prey every 1.5 days, with the longest known interval between kills being 4 days. Stalking behavior was also interesting. For males in the interior, no significant differences were found between the stalking frequencies of different prey species, with the exception of the aardvark and the steenbok, which were stalked more often, and in terms of stalking distances, these increased as prey size increased. Once a chase was initiated, males in the interior were successful in killing their prey 8% of the time, compared to 28% for females with cubs. In both sexes, 68% of all chases were not preceded by a stalk. Finally, in terms of kills, with the exception of the red hartebeest discussed earlier, prey was always dragged underneath a bush or tree offering suitable cover, something that was done over considerable distance and in the interior only when disturbed in 17% of cases were prey later moved into a tree. Visually speaking, leopards are the most similar to jaguars, the only big cat found on the other side of the Atlantic, and the second big cat for which I was able to find a single study that covered their entire range. The authors described this study as a meta-analysis, compiling the results of over 50 other studies, which collectively contained thousands of jaguar kill records. 25 studies were deemed to have sufficient data for this analysis and contained a total of 3,200 kill records. The actual purpose of analysing the diet of the jaguar in this study was to investigate whether the existing prey preference patterns of jaguars were potentially affected by the megafaunal extinctions of the Pleistocene period, compared to the other large felids we've already covered. While this part of the study is a little out of the scope of this video, it does lead to a very interesting comparison between the body weight of each of the solitary large cats relative to their prey, which we'll cover at the end of this section. In the introduction, the authors point to a 1996 study which found that the weight of the jaguar varies considerably throughout its range. Floodplain jaguars were found to be significantly larger, with the largest males in Venezuela's Los Llanos weighing up to 104.5 kilograms, and the males in the Pantanal 99.5 kilograms, and as such their prey, which included livestock, was also found to be much larger. Forest jaguars, on the other hand, were found to be smaller, weighing up to 83.6 kilograms in the Amazon, and just 56.1 kilograms in Central America, and their prey was found to be much smaller. Aside from the previously mentioned impact of the Pleistocene extinctions, the researchers state that this study aimed to determine what the critical prey resources of jaguars are by determining the preferred prey of the species, which is the area that we'll focus on in this section. A staggering 111 wild prey species were identified, ranging in size from 1 kilogram rabbits to 130 kilogram lowland tapirs. It is worth noting that in terms of comparing this to the other big cats, it is really only a fair comparison with the snow leopard, whose 29 species listed in the frequency of occurrence table was for their entire range. The 15 different prey species mentioned in the study of Russian Siberian tigers, the 20 prey species found in the fecal analysis of lions in Zimbabwe, and the 12 prey species for the leopards in the Kalahari were all local studies that did not cover the entire range of the species. Regardless, the species that were found to be most commonly preyed upon by the jaguar in this study were the capybara, caiman, collared peccary, nine-banded armadillo, giant anteater, white-nosed coati, and wild pig, which could either refer to introduced wild boar or feral domestic pigs, as all other wild pig species are found in the New World. Several of these species were always preyed upon when they were present, including capybara and white-nosed coati, which were included in the previous list, and white-tailed deer, marsh deer, crab-eating fox, crab-eating raccoon, and the northern tamandua. On the other side of the scale, the enormous Baird's tapir was never killed by jaguars in the sampled studies. Jacob's index was of course used in this study and identified 2 prey species that jaguars significantly preferred to prey on. Number 1, the capybara, and number 2, the giant anteater. Both the marsh deer and southern tamandua have higher Jacob's index values, but the researchers state that those species may become preferred with a larger sample size. All other prey were consumed relative to their abundance, with the exception of the black-eared opossum and lowland tapir, which were significantly avoided. And the researchers also state that Baird's tapir would also be significantly avoided if sample sizes were larger. In terms of taxonomic groups, no clear preference was indicated, but carnivores, agoutis, and primates were significantly avoided. In terms of prey weight, the analysis showed that jaguars significantly preferred larger prey up to 100 kilograms, past which prey, including both tapir, were avoided. As promised, this graph shows a plot of the predator-to-prey body mass ratio of solitary members of the Panthera genus, and how this relates to the body mass of each species. This shows that jaguars prey on species with a lower body weight relative to their own than any of the other solitary big cats. And it's also interesting to note that of the 4 solitary big cats, the snow leopard displays the highest predator-to-prey body mass ratio. The jaguar is one of 2 cats whose melanistic forms are referred to as the black panther, and were the subject of a fascinating study that you can learn about in this video, exploring the geographical distribution of the jaguar and the black panther. Thank you so much for watching.